Good evening, PA Figs here. So just wanted to do a quick fall video. Here it is, getting close to mid-October, and you can see the fig orchard is starting to lose all of its leaves. Certain varieties go stronger when it gets a little bit cooler out. I've noticed that other varieties tend to drop their leaves early. Second year in a row that I've seen this for certain varieties, and it always kind of surprises me. And some of it has to do, I think, with the pots they're in. Others has to do with the actual variety of the plant. But I wanted to go and take a look at some of the figs in the greenhouse to show you what they're looking like. On the way, here is the UC Davis Barna, and I wanted to show you these figs that are on it, because my Barna has been, I don't know how to say it, less than stellar this year, and I've gotten some good brabas off of it. But for whatever reason, most of the figs in the later part of the year have been looking like they need to be caprified. So let me just break this open quick, and I can show you. And this one actually has a little bit of color in it. Sorry for the poor camera work. You can see there's actually a little bit of color, a little bit of ripening in this one, which has been unusual. A lot of them have been dry inside and kind of that tannish white. Let me go ahead and give this guy a taste as we head over towards the greenhouse. Well, it's pretty lousy, actually, but it did ripen. Alright, so on the way to the greenhouse here, and the greenhouse I've been trying to keep above 60 degrees using heat. During the day, it hasn't been a problem. During the day, it's been over 100 degrees. So keeping it warm during the day has not been a problem. And I wish I could zoom out more. Unfortunately, this is the best my camera does. But you can see there's a whole bunch of black Madeiras ripening. I've got my main black Madeira tree in here, and you can see it's ripening nicely. There's several of them ripening in here. For the most part, they don't get quite as black as they would in, the pure sunlight during the summer, but I mean, you can see that they still ripen nicely. You can see a really beautiful drop of honey on this guy here, and I'll show you the Prados I have outside still, which are not, they're ripening, but they're not ripening nearly as nicely as the ones in the greenhouse. These black Madeiras and Prados really do enjoy the extra heat. So, and you can see there's a few more up here ripening. So this guy takes over a good portion of my greenhouse, but it's really worth it for the black Madeira. Here's the one Prado I brought in, and I got maybe one or two figs to ripen off of it, but the rest of them haven't really ripened. It's in a warmer side of the greenhouse. It's against the south side of the greenhouse, so it gets pretty much all day light, and the figs have kind of stayed stagnant. Now, I really should have pruned off some of these figs. I mean, you can see how many figs are on each branch. I think it really would have helped ripen if I had, pruned maybe half of those, reduced the number by half. It's a lot of figs for this small tree. You can see all the branches are kind of similar. I mean, you can't ask for better fruiting, but I think it might just be a little bit too much, and it might be holding up the ripening of these figs. I've still got one tomato over here. Just kind of wanted to see how long that will stay alive for. It had died back for a while when we got that real cold, rainy week, but now you can see there's new growth popping out of here. So we're going to get some of these tomatoes for a while, I think. And on the bench, I've got a few younger varieties that I wanted to let grow and see how they would do. Can't remember where. So this is a Panavino Dark. It's got some figs. I just wanted to see if they would ripen, just to at least prove the variety. And then I've got a Col de Dame Blanc. I just brought this in. You can see it started to turn and go into hibernation out there. But I wanted to bring it in. I didn't want it to get too cold. I've got a Borgia Salt Grise. I believe that's what that is. Yep. This was given to me by a good friend, Raphael, and it was not doing too well to be midsummer there, but it's really started to take off in the last month or two, so high hopes for that guy. And then next to it I have a Violet Soles, and this is one of a few that I have. This one really never took off. It's been kind of like this for quite a while. You can see the new growth has lignified. This brown limb here was all new growth this year, but really didn't take off. Wasn't very happy. Next is I believe this is a Maltese Falcon. Yep, it's a Maltese Falcon. I thought I had another fig on here that was ripening and would have been ripe this week, but I have no idea where it went. And this is another one that I brought in when the leaves started to fall off, and surprisingly it's actually putting out new growth. So the greenhouse is staying warm enough for the figs to keep growing. I have a Pastilliere from UC Davis. Shailesh brought this over a few weeks ago. It's doing okay. Behind that is an improved Celeste air layer. It was that branch that you probably saw in a video a while ago that had broken off. It's taken off a little bit. You know, I'm finding that these things, these cuttings and air layers do really well in the greenhouse. The cuttings, I don't think, get enough humidity, because I've been trying to keep the humidity a little bit lower in here. So they're hit and miss. Here's a Colidame Nor that I need to water, apparently. It's getting a little dry. And then a Soda Sicilian air layer that's taken off. And behind it is, back up, my Violet de Bordeaux that I left in the greenhouse all season here. It's starting to put on the third crop. I had a couple of third crops ripen. And then a few more. I've got another Black Madeira in a smaller, I don't know, about 10-gallon pot here. This was a air layer off my main tree last year. It put on a lot of growth this year, but has not really ripened too many of the fruit yet. They were a little bit late to set, and I'm not sure they'll have enough time in the greenhouse even to ripen. They probably have another 30 days, but we'll see. And over here I've got one of my Brogiotto Neros, and it's starting to ripen quite a few of its figs. There's one over here that's ripe and ready to come off. You can see it hanging over there. There's another one above it that's ripening. And then a few other figs laying around in the bottom. I've got that not Black Madeira from Just Fruits and Exotics. I'm waiting to see those figs ripen to try to figure out what that is. I've got a Genovese Nero, and I can't quite see what the other one is. Oh, and then down here I have my first panache forming. Beautiful, beautiful fig. It formed real late. Now I'm just kind of letting it go. The top's still growing pretty good. I don't know if this fig will ripen. It's probably got quite a bit of time left before it goes. And the greenhouse probably will stop keeping these growable in, I don't know, November. It's been real warm for October here. To the right of that is a Nord de Barbentane. And this is probably the best growing fig in the greenhouse. It's really taken off. And I'm losing my light here so you can see everything's getting kind of dim. But it's put on a couple feet of growth since I moved it into here. So it's growing real well. And that's pretty much it for the greenhouse. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this Brogiotto Nero over here, because it definitely looks ripe. Oh yeah. And Brogiotto Nero has been a beautiful fig. It is almost identical to the Black Madeira in everything except for taste. The Black Madeira definitely has that kick of a flavor at the end that Brogiotto Nero doesn't have. But texture, looks, size-wise, everything else is pretty similar. It sometimes gets the drip of honey. This one doesn't have it. And it splits really badly in humidity. When the greenhouse gets real humid, it splits real bad. Same as Black Madeira. The Pretos I haven't seen split this year, but I know they split last year, so I imagine they will sooner or later here as well. Alright, out in the orchard now. Here's the Figo Preto. It's got a couple of figs ripening on it, and at this point, this time of the year, they're really taking their sweet time in ripening. It's been a long process. This one's been black for over a week. It's cold to the touch. It's probably only, I don't know, 55 degrees out here right now. So I think it's going to be a tough fall here. I don't think a lot of these figs are unfortunately going to ripen. My large Ronde de Bordeaux is getting its leaves back. It's pretty much out of figs. I think there may be one straggler on there, but it's about done. Surprisingly, the Figo Preto is holding on to its leaves. Same with my in-ground Bronx White. It's holding on to its leaves and getting rid of its last one or two figs. The Nero 600 is finally starting to lignify. It was green up to this week. Still has quite a bit of green on the limbs, but it's starting to go. I don't think the third crop that you're seeing, and a lot of third crop on it, I don't think they're going to ripen. But you never know. Might get a week of warm weather here and something might take off. My Biferes have been doing real well. They've been ripening pretty nicely in this cooler weather. And this tree, you can see it's a little damaged. It got blown over in a thunderstorm while we were gone yesterday. It lay like that overnight, so I just picked it up. My green Esquilla, I'm real disappointed with. Not from a production standpoint, but the figs just stopped ripening. And they're one of my favorite, but they're a real late season. I normally move this into the greenhouse, but I just didn't have room. And, you know, I'm sad to say that I'm probably not going to get a lot of these to ripen. It's real unfortunate. It's my favorite green fig. But here's my larger Brogiotto Nero that I have outside. And surprisingly, a lot of figs on this are starting to ripen, even in the cooler weather. You can see over here, almost this whole branch have started to turn. I'm sure they won't be as thick and as nice as the summer ripened ones, but you know, it's something in the fall. Actually, I think I might have one. Let's see if this is ripe. It needs more time. Alright, and then a couple of the other figs. Oh, there's one I wanted to check out, which is my Soda Sicilian is still going strong. It's actually still growing. I mean, I've got green growth on it in this cooler weather. It's a great fig for anybody in a cooler climate, that's for sure. And it's still putting out beautiful figs. I think I see one laying down here. Oh yeah, one fell while I was gone this weekend. Let's see how that guy looks. Looks like it got a little bug damage, but nothing too bad. My Flanders, I haven't gotten a main crop off of since I think July. And that was like an initial spurt, and then all these other ones have just been sitting here. The first couple I got, the only couple I got, were pretty awful, so I was hoping to try a couple of those. We'll see if they ripen. That's kind of it for the standouts. My Black Esquilla AD has gotten huge. I mean, it really took off. It went from something that was riddled with FMV, barely growing, to a very, very large tree. So there'll be a lot of air layers or a lot of cuttings off of that guy this fall here. It's probably too late to air layer. Angelo's dark. It's winding down. The last few figs are ripening. This was a great fig this year. The only complaint I have about it is it goes from ripe to spoiled very quickly. They don't do a good job of drying on the tree, but they were an early crop and ripened all the way through summer into the fall here, and they're still ripening. You can see I've got some up here. They're not as good in the fall here, not even close, but they dry well, and they're still ripening. So, I mean, this was a great fig. If you don't have this, you know, this fig in your collection, it's definitely one that I would add because it's definitely worth having. Another Preto over here. This Preto was in the shade more than the other one. I kind of wanted to try them in different areas. And I would say this one definitely suffered being in the shade. Really didn't put on a lot of growth, even though it was in a big self-watering pot. But it did ripen more figs, surprisingly. It ripened more figs than the one that was in the sun. I won't pretend to understand why. You can see I've got a bunch of spotted wing Drosophila on this. It's been too cold for them, though, so I don't know where they're coming from, but I haven't seen any figs spoiled by them. I haven't seen really much action or much negative results out of them, even though I'm still seeing them around. So, and for some reason, my camera will not focus on this fig, so gonna have to take my word for it. But yeah, that's the Fico Preto trying to be infested by some spotted wing Drosophila there on the side. But I think they're sterile after a certain temperature. Where the live ones are still coming from, I'm not sure, but again, I haven't seen any fig damage in probably a couple weeks at this point. And that's about it. A couple other figs here, and here's my Excel. Didn't grow that much, but loaded with figs. And a Ronde de Bordeaux I tried to save out of a 5-gallon sip. Did not enjoy it. It's liking its new home in a larger container, though. Alright, that's about it. I wanted to give a quick video of, well, not quick, but a video of some of the figs in October here. Hope you enjoyed. PA Figs, have a good one. Well, I couldn't show you me picking those figs and then not show you the inside of them, right? I mean, that would just be, rude. Alright, so here is the Soda Sicilian. Let's see if I can cut this open without knocking the tripod over. This was ripened outside, even though it's been down into the 40s lately. You can still see this ripened beautifully. Doesn't ripen quite the same as during the hot summer months, but for those of us in colder climates and those in even colder climates than me, it still ripens pretty nicely. So. Still has pretty good flavor. Got a nice, caramel hue to it, I guess I would say. When you dry it, it especially gets that real nice caramel is probably the closest thing I can find to call it. But, yeah, it's a real good fig if you don't have that. Alright, now here is the Borosio Nero. Real soft fig. This was ripened in the greenhouse, so this should ripen, closer to normal. Real nice fig. For greenhouse ripening, they still don't come out perfect, so, or not as nice as during the summer, but look how nice and juicy this fig is. I mean, it's ripened perfectly. Good. Lacking any type of wow factor on it. Texture is beautiful. It's got the perfect amount of seed crunch. It's got a nice balance of sweetness. It's not real sweet to make you go wow. And it doesn't have that, strong berry flavor to really punch you and say, ooh, yum. It's just it's a good fig. It's a beautiful fig. Inside, out, texture's beautiful. I just wish it had more flavor. Yeah, flavor is just kind of weak on it. Part of that might be that it was ripened in the greenhouse and not outside, not in the sun. But, yeah, it's kind of plain. Alright, well, there's Borosio Nero and Soda Sicilian. Out of the two, I'd say Soda Sicilian wins on flavor. Borosio Nero wins on texture. But, if you had to pick one and you're living in a colder climate, I would definitely go with the Soda Sicilian. Borosio Nero, remember I started this guy here much earlier in the greenhouse. I think that he had a 1 to 2 month head start. Just now getting a lot of the figs off of it. I got some during the summer, but a lot of them still aren't ripe. So, whereas the Soda Sicilian's been ripening all summer long. So, alright, hope you enjoyed. This is PA Figs.